Caitlyn's journey in the league is becoming more exciting by the day. The more people try to bring her down, the more her popularity soars. She's now drawing over 16,000 fans to each game, and every venue she plays in is packed. Celebrities are showing up to watch her, and courtside tickets are selling for as much as $2,000. This is a huge shift from the usual crowd of around 5,000 fans, with some games even feeling empty on TV. Even though Caitlyn was left off Team USA, her success is undeniable. Her influence is clear, and it's boosting everyone around her as the team works toward their 8th consecutive championship. Building the best team is crucial, and Caitlyn is a key part of that. She's proving she's ready to lead, recently securing her first triple-double, a feat she almost reached in previous games, often missing by just 1 or 2 rebounds. What's even more impressive is that Caitlyn is the first rookie in history to average 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. This shows her critics were wrong. And let's not forget the player who once got a big shoe deal and spoke negatively about Caitlyn. Now, it's clear Caitlyn is letting her performance do the talking, and the results speak for themselves. As for the Super Bowl, her team beat theirs 3 times already, so of course, they didn't want to lose a 4th.
This is their Super Bowl game. I mean, we've beaten them 3 times this year already. We knew they were going to come into this game really hungry, and it's tough to beat a team 4 times.
There's always something new happening with these girls, and it seems like every day brings a fresh story. I saw a guy recently talking about the stats behind all of it, and he had some interesting points. Basically, he said, you don't need to explain yourself. He said what he said, and that's it. It's a reminder that sometimes, the numbers and the facts speak for themselves, no extra explanations needed. The action is what matters, and right now, Caitlyn and her teammates are making sure their performance is all anyone needs to focus on.
Oh, he said a lot. Ticket sales grew in 2023 by 16% from 2022. Ticket sales have grown by 93% in 2024. The WNBA had grown by 40% viewership. But with Caitlyn Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years.
When they went on strike, I noticed the numbers skyrocket. What was once 16% shot up to 100%, and 40% jumped to 4,000%. Things weren't really growing before, but then Caitlyn came in and made massive changes in just a few weeks, changes that took others decades to achieve. Suddenly, 16,000 people were showing up to watch, and over 6,000 fans were coming out to see her play. They had to move her games to a bigger arena because they sold way more tickets than they expected. It's wild that they thought they could fit everyone into a small high school gym. What were they thinking? It was like they didn't realize how big this was going to get, and speaking of big numbers, did you hear about her selling 20,000 tickets? I didn't get to mention it in the previous video, but there's more. Some former WNBA players have had their say too. Recently, I came across one woman who caught my attention, and I thought it would be interesting to share her story. To be fair, she mentioned that when she played, this was a long time ago, way before basketball as we know it, she and her teammates had to use a men's basketball. Can you imagine that? It's incredible to think how far things have come.
I am the hidden figure, but no longer now. My record was hidden from everyone for 43 years. 43 years. I don't think, I'll just go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. I don't think my record has been broken because you can't duplicate what you're not duplicating. And so unless you come with a men's basketball and a 2-point shot, hey.
That's just how things were back then. This woman held the record for 40 years, consistently making 2-point shots, but it didn't seem to get much attention. The key takeaway is that instead of jumping to criticize without offering anything positive, remember, you don't owe Caitlyn anything. It's your life, and Caitlyn didn't do anything for you. No one knew about your record, and now it's been broken. It's okay to acknowledge that it was a record held for 40 years and say, yeah, good for her. I'm glad she had the chance to break it. That said, it's also fair to mention that the record was set under different circumstances. There weren't any 3-pointers back then, and they used a men's basketball. I'm not trying to take anything away from Caitlyn's achievement, but there's no need to be overly nice about it. Just stay calm and respectful now. As for Sheryl Swoopes, I've heard her name before but never really knew who she was. She's apparently considered one of the greatest WNBA players ever. But she recently made some controversial comments about Caitlyn, which isn't surprising since it seems some older players have trouble keeping their opinions to themselves. So here's what she had to say.
This isn't just for Caitlyn, but you asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
It took over 100, maybe even 120 games, for some players to consistently nail those threes. Now, some people are saying it only took Caitlyn 13 fewer games, but they're overlooking the fact that she had an extra year of experience. Cheryl Swoops mentioned that Caitlyn kept playing until she was 25 years old, but hold on, Caitlyn's not even 25 yet. She got drafted at 22, and this is just her first season. She's still 22, not 25. It's almost like people are just making things up at this point. Another player recently spoke out about Caitlyn, and I missed this one too. She's a WNBA player who appeared on Gil's podcast, and here's what she had to say about Ice Cube offering Caitlyn $5 million to join the Big Three. As I mentioned in the last video, the Big Three is a league that features 3-on-3 games with retired NBA players or current pros playing overseas who are a bit older, like someone whose NBA career ended, and now, at 37, they're playing internationally. Ice Cube wanted Caitlyn to be the first female player in the Big Three, and he was willing to offer her $5 million to play. Here's what this WNBA player had to say about the offer on Gil's podcast.
If you open the article and you see what's his reasoning, he wanted to provide more opportunities for WNBA players and provide opportunities to not go overseas. So you offered the contract to a player who's not yet even in the WNBA.
If Angel Reese had been given the same opportunity, she wouldn't have had anything negative to say. No one would have said a word against it. She would have kept quiet, maybe even praised it. People would have been applauding, posting on social media, and celebrating how amazing it is that Ice Cube is supporting young women coming out of college and giving them a chance. They'd be calling him a hero. But if you're not on Caitlyn's level, making those big plays, then there's nothing to discuss. Now, let's talk about Diana Taurasi. If you haven't heard of her, she's widely considered the greatest player in WNBA history. Now in her 20th season, Diana is in her 40s. Before Caitlyn Clark entered the league, Diana made some interesting comments about her. Hold on a second, where's the so-called white privilege? Diana's white, so why didn't she blow up the WNBA if it's all about white privilege? If that were the case, shouldn't people have been tuning in just because she was white and wanted to see someone like themselves represented in the league? Diana's been doing her thing for 20 years, I've seen some of her highlights, and she plays like Kobe, hitting mid-range shots and all that. But if white privilege is real, why didn't she become a superstar? Oh, right. She's boring, a total snooze fest. She won 3 national championships, but who even knew? She's not like Caitlyn Clark, who has everyone's attention. Diana's never experienced anything like this. When she saw the packed arena, she was shocked, saying, "Oh my God, there's someone all the way in the back row. I didn't even realize we had seats back there." 17,000 people showed up to watch the women's game. It was the largest crowd she had ever seen in her entire career. After the press conference, she said, "Wow, I knew people were interested, but I never imagined this many would show up. This is the largest crowd I've ever seen." She could only express gratitude and kindness because she was thinking, "I'm about to retire, and here the WNBA is blowing up." Her moment has come, and maybe the viewership and attendance will level off. It might not go back to where it was before Caitlyn arrived, but it could find a good middle ground. But if Caitlyn's popularity keeps growing, that's great for her. It will show those who doubted her that she's the real deal and that she can make a big impact. If more people keep supporting her, it will only prove she's great at what she does. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole situation. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the discussion, and if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.